the Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 12, verses 38 through 44. As he taught, he said, "Beware of the scribes, who like to walk around in long robes and to be greeted with respect in marketplaces, to have the best seats in the synagogues and places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and, for the sake of appearance, say long prayers and receive the greater condemnation." Now he sat down opposite the treasury and watched the crowd putting money into the treasury. Many rich people put in large sums. A poor widow came and put in 2 small coins, which are worth a penny. Then he called his disciples and said to them, "Truly I tell you, the poor widow has put in more than all those who are contributing to the treasury. For all of them who have contributed out of their abundance, but she out of her poverty has put in everything she had, all she had to live." Well, we've been trying out a new local supermarket called Fresh Time. Anybody else been to one of the Fresh Time stores? One of the highlights for me is that they have these multiple aisles of bulk candy and nuts with little bitty cups, kind of about the size of a community cup, that you can get samples. And gosh, I love chocolate. So this big display has all my favorites that I remember from childhood, things like the sour cherry balls and gummy everything and circus peanuts and jelly beans and candy corn. And also it has some of the newer candies like trail mixes of 14 different versions, chocolate-covered peanuts and pecans, chocolate-covered walnuts, chocolate-covered gummy bears, chocolate-covered yogurt treats, and then non-gluten candies. And fairly close to that, but a ways away, they have these huge areas of even bigger bulk candy. They're like 50-gallon old-fashioned wooden drums that are filled with candy. I guess those are kind of there for those who need the big packages of, or have big families, or have a big sweet tooth. Now, other stores I have visited have racks of the typical movie candies, I would say, kind of when the ones you're going to buy when you rent a video to watch at home. Or maybe they have a whole display next to the magazine and comic racks that holds every sweet, gooey, glow-in-the-dark, pop-in-your-mouth candy that a little kid would want. Actually, about 75% of that display is devoted to all the various sizes, shapes, and packagings of different ways bubblegum can come. The types of candies at each of these locations appeals to the particular set of standards that motivate different types of candy buyers. I know what I go to when I go into Fresh Time. One of the first things I do is, if I'm buying cheese, I say, "I'll be back. Here's how I want some Kojak cheese slice with paper between it." And I make a beeline over to the bulk candy. And the chocolate-covered pecans are actually really pretty expensive. So I fill up my cup and walk around eating those. But other people might not want that. They may want to try some trail mix or some gummy bears. So it's all to our own individual taste. And there's some people that wouldn't dream of purchasing anything except a Milky Way or Hershey bar or M&Ms. For some, it's important the quantity they get, not the quality. For there is no possibility of getting too much of a good thing, right? Those who see eating sweets as strictly a special indulgence, purchase the entertainment package. For children, their taste is associated with fun, so they want fun shapes, fun colors, fun things you can do with the package when it's empty. The whole point of this is we all have different standards, different ways of weighing out and determining what is good and what is bad. Standards of taste and tastefulness are as varied as are individuals who establish those stores. Yet there are certain standards we can recognize as high or we can denounce as low. A few years back, thanks to the producer Aaron Spelling, we all learned that the numbers 90210 weren't just a zip code. It's a symbol for money and power and prestige and privilege. It's a Beverly Hills zip code, but it's not just an address, it's a Beverly Hills lifestyle, if you ever watched that show. Although we try to admit to ourselves, truth is today that more than ever, we are a society that judges everything and everyone according to monetary value. We assume that if something costs a lot, it must be good. And if it costs more, it must even be better. That is why some colleges have raised their tuition so high, and yet their enrollments swell, because if it costs more, it must be a better college to go to. It makes me wonder about the simple gifts, the dignity of small gestures, the grace to appreciate the goodwill, the good wishes of others. What is with this demand for grandeur and supersize and superabundance of everything? This is a challenge that greets the disciples of Jesus, is whether or not you can buck the system with big bucks. Jesus declares that the pittance poured down from the treasury, trumpet spout by the faithful widow, was more generous than the overspilling gifts of all those who had given from their riches. And he calls it out and takes notice of it and wants to make sure his disciples take notice of it. You see, Jesus makes this pronouncement that is something radically different than our value system of the first century and of this century we live in. Christ's challenge is that let the scales fall from your eyes and judge according not to the world's weights and measures or dollars or cents and stocks and bonds, but judge by the heavenly scales. A good example to show you how little progress we have made since the time of Jesus is looking at this story of the widow's mite and knowing that modern commentaries, most scholars say that Jesus is not lauding the empty purse donation of the widow, but rather is appalled by that witness. That according to these commentaries, the mere pawn that this widow is really someone, because of the hands of the greedy, grasping religious establishment, and wrong-handedly, this lady gives everything she has to eat away and leaves her with nothing. While those who are greedy, who gave a bunch, still have a whole bunch. So things, to some extent, have not changed in our world since that time. For the last 2 centuries at least, capital has been king. Consumers come to wield enormous power in this cutthroat competitive marketplace. Anyone with a product to sell must make it user-friendly as possible. Consumers want big bangs for their bucks. It's no longer enough to pay someone for what it's worth. Instead, we have to have freebies or some kind of a perk, even an incentive to accompany our purchases. Buy a dozen bagels, get one free. Supersize your soft drink for just 20 cents more. Pay $80 to a cheap hotel, and heck, they'll throw in a continental breakfast. Spring for the sports car, lose the back seat, and you regain your youth and your sex appeal. Get a designer label in the back of your clothes and instead of a knockoff, and you feel superior and elegant. The standards that calibrate the 21st century are the same scales of this gift to the poor widow, and it's pathetically light in the eyes of God. We look at the amount she gave, both nothing, 2 cents, nothing, but yet it was everything. And we judge it against where she gave it in the temple to perpetrate a lifestyle beyond what she could ever live. But what happens if the scales fall off our eyes? What happens if we set our own standards based on not on monetary values, not on worldly success, but according to the text and the story and the observation of Jesus. We see instead a woman devoted, not afraid to give all she has to God. Don't think about this as money. She's not afraid to give everything she has to God. We hear Jesus proclaim that the widow made a genuine sacrifice because she has given her whole life because of her faith. We look ahead and associate the fact that Jesus gave his life to hang on a cross for us. It's not too hard to understand the widow's might and the might of love when you think about what this woman did, giving her everything to God, or that Jesus gave everything for us, for God. David Porter's comment on Mother Teresa was, born Agnes Boyal to Albanian parents. She went to India in 1929 as a member of the Laredo Order of Nuns. There she taught for many years, became headmistress of the school. In 1946, she received her call within a call to work with the poorest of the poor. By 1948, she had given permission to leave the order she was in, trained herself in nursing skills to carry out her calling. She prayed, "Oh God, if I cannot help these people in their poverty and their suffering, let me at least die with them, close to them, so I can show them your love." Wasted time and energy? Wasted might? Are the scales falling from her eyes? Are the standards of measure changing? Simon says, from the simple beginning, the missionaries of charity, which Mother Teresa founded, has grown to be 4,000 sisters and brothers, 755 homes, 1,369 medical clinics that serve hundreds of thousands worldwide. Mother Teresa's widow's might has might, and it's the might of love. When you say, "Hey, I know Mother Teresa, Brooks," well, consider William McGee and Caitlin McGee, 51 and 52-year-old, the founders of Operation Smile. One of them is a plastic surgeon, the other is a social worker. Operation Smile began in 1982, and since then they've performed over 18,000 surgeries on kids in 15 countries to correct without charge such disfigurements of cleft palates, burn scars, while training local doctors and dentists in the procedures. William McGee says the world is changed by emotion. So on June 20th, 1996, the Conrad Hilton Foundation awarded a $1 million prize to the McGees to continue their work. William and Caitlin McGee's might has might. It's the might of love. Still not convinced? Think about Evie Rosen, an 81-year-old woman from Wausau, Wisconsin, who is no doubt busy right now knitting afghans. The reason? Winter's almost here, and someone is going to need a blanket. Evie is a retired needle workshop owner, disheartened by the stories of the homeless in Wausau and other areas. She wanted to do something to help. So she says almost every home has little balls of yarn laying around. I thought if we could knit 7-inch by 9-inch rectangles, we could stitch together and make some afghans. So she started Operation Warm Up America in 1992, getting the word out to churches, retirement homes, and craft shops. And last year, with the help of other organizations, they distributed 16,000 afghans to homeless. Evie Rosen's widow's might has might. It's the might of love. Norm and Lori Nickel of Abbotsford, British Columbia, wanted to offer their services as a family to help others. So with their 4 children, they took 3 weeks off in the summer to go work with SOAR, Sold Out Radical Youth Mission International Team Program. They were placed in Redley, California, where they worked with an organization called Community Work Youth Ministries that's been able to help Hispanics in an apartment complex where about 2,000 underemployed or unemployed Hispanics live, and about 1,500 of those are children. They did vacation Bible school, sports camps, drama, various other activities with the children. Here's what Lori says. I could feel God working through our hands as we played with the children, our mouths as we verbally shared God's love, and our eyes and ears as we saw and heard their hurts and pains. Just to think God has set our family apart for 3 weeks so that we could convey His love and compassion to hurting people was life-changing for me. Norm and Lori Nichols' widow's mite has Mite, and it's the mite of love. Or there's Miss Epps, who just likes to spend time with children. She enjoys volunteering at Norge Elementary School in Williamsburg, Virginia. There she works with students who have mental and physical disabilities. Her day begins long before 7 a.m., and she has to catch a bus to go to the school. When she gets there, she greets Drew, who has difficulty walking. Another one of her favorites was a child with Down syndrome. He sits beside her, smiling. She turns on a tape recording and plays Jingle Bell Rock while our students sing and clap enthusiastically. It takes a lot of energy to do that all morning long, 5 days a week with these children. Oh, did I mention that Mrs. Epps is 99 years old? Wasted time? Twisted values? She says, I don't want to act dead while I'm still alive, she says. Fanny Epps has widow mite, and it's the mite of love. Paul Bayer calls it the Lord's work. He lives in Leola, Pennsylvania. Every year for 35 years, he has driven a truck in New York City, a 6-hour round-trip drive to deliver food to the Bowery Mission, located in one of the seediest sections of all of Manhattan. His truck is loaded with produce, canned meats, pastries, which the Mennonite farmers and businesses near his town have donated. He says that people trust him with the food he takes, and that the reward is to see all the happy faces when the food arrives. Paul's widow Mite has Mite, and it's the mite of love. In Santa Monica, California, volunteers, pilots can fly with Angel Flight, an organization that helps the disadvantaged get to places where they can get the appropriate diagnosis and treatment. In the mid-1995, 1996, 97, they had assisted over 9,000 people get to places to get the proper medical care. In Toronto, if you are a youth 16 to 24, you qualify to be placed with another youth aged 6 to 15 suffering from emotional, behavioral, and social problems in a program called Youth Assisting Youth. The program has a phenomenal success of 98% keeping kids in school and out of the criminal justice system. In the reach, they have provided much help. They have widow's mite, the mite of love. Still not convinced? There's a church that I know of that has reached out to provide uniforms and underclothing to School 31 here in the inner city of Indianapolis, whose children would be without those, or be in trouble without them. Anybody know what church that is?
Ours.
It's ours. Indy Urban Gardens has an 8-acre farm here in the city. All the crops are given away free. And that 8-acre farm, they're given to places like Gleaners and food pantries like us and other neighborhood families who are in need. Each Thanksgiving for many, many years, Olive Branch Christian Church has provided a free Thanksgiving meal to literally thousands of people. You think about 35 years and 15, 16, 1,700 people every year. We're talking about thousands of people we have fed on Thanksgiving Day. We've taken used towels to Horizon House so the homeless can take showers. We give up our old cell phones and so women and children in trouble with domestic violence can have access to police intervention in times of crisis, funneling them through the Julian Center. We have sent shoes to the shoeless to the island of Haiti after the earthquake. The list goes on and on and on and on. How do you measure your life? What are the scales you are using? Are you using the scales of love to measure your life? What would happen if everything you did from here on out would be because of an act of love? All your decisions you made or because of an act of love? Would you find yourself rich or poor? As Christians, we have already been the recipient of the greatest gift ever. The gift of the sacrificial gift of Jesus Christ and His life, teaching, death, and resurrection for our sake. It's truly beyond our imagination. Can we, like the poor widow in the gospel story of Mark, find the courage to share our wealth, whatever that means, that we hold? Can we stop dribbling out stores of love and selflessness and sacrifice and compassion and dare to pour out our entire heart, our entire body, our entire soul, our entire mind, our whole life into the love-starved coffers of this world? This world is starving. It's broken. We have the ability to give our entire lives to do something about it. This is the Word of God for the people of God.
Praise be to God.
I would invite you now to